Hi there.
How are you?
I'm fine. How's Toby? Look at Toby over there.
Oh, can you see him?
He's
No.
taking root. He's taking root on the white sofa.
Yeah, that's just a blanket. He's actually
Oh, where is he?
right there on the floor.
Oh, are you in love with him now?
Am I in love with him? I don't know. Uh, he has a smell that I have. I'm very allergic to scent, and yesterday I just had like a fit
Too
of.
much of a doggy smell?
Yeah, I had him shampooed yesterday, so it's much better today. But I think I'm a little. Plus, he's a nut. I'm like, do I
Oh,
really want to be involved with an erotic mess who smells?
he's a puppy, right? Automatically, that's pretty neurotic. No, he's not a
No,
puppy.
he's 3 years old.
Oh, so he's like an abused guy,
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah.
Oh, maybe you could get some kind of oil to put on his scalp. You know what I mean?
Today I was thinking about what if I got an air purifier?
Well, that would definitely help you.
Because the smell I can't handle. I think air purifiers clean up smell.
Yeah, they do. Good ones do, for sure.
Yeah.
Hmm. And they're good for him too.
Susan, I don't really know how this thing works because I have access to the hub because I set up the uh, like our meeting.
Yes.
Um, but I never see the link for this meeting. But if I sign in and then I join, it lets me in.
Yeah.
But if I go on the website, I don't see it. I don't know where it is. Like,
Well, if you really want the link, you can go on the Google Doc on the, it's always on the presentation page. You know, when we say order of service, it's on that order of service. If you want to copy and paste that link to anybody, it's right on that order of
okay,
service there. No problem. I don't know, what are you talking about, the looking for the link on what page? On what site?
Zoom. If I go to Hub
Oh,
Zoom, I don't see the link there.
oh geez, I don't know how to do that. I mean, I do have what is supposed to be the password for Hub Zoom.
So maybe it's just a link somebody made a long time ago, and we keep using the link, but it's probably very far down the list of previous meetings. Maybe I'll scroll down there.
Yeah. You know what I did? I want to put Andy's name. He wants his name on the members email list, right? And there's nobody knows how to do that. So I sent an email to Charlie. I said, Charlie, please help. So far, he hasn't gotten back to me, but nobody knows how to add to that email list.
So we probably have to get in touch with the people who used to manage it for us.
Yes, and hi, I'm Susan. This is Mindy.
Hey,
You
Andy.
probably,
Hello, Mindy.
hi, Mindy. It would be really great if on the church website there was a place there where you could add to an email list too.
Oh yeah.
So that's all. Hi, you found the link and everything.
We did, and I really appreciate your sending it. That was super helpful.
We really like the speakers to show up.
Yes.
Having hosted, as you know, many speakers, I totally understand that impulse. And Mindy, the thing that I'm noting most so far is how our staircases run parallel.
Oh my God, you guys look like.
And you have a white sofa, and I have a white sofa.
Well, it's a covered black sofa.
Oh, I see.
Okay, but you guys could be in the same house.
Beg pardon?
You guys look like you're in the same house.
Yeah, that would be fun. We'll be in the same house again sometime soon.
Yeah, sometime in the future before we all, yeah.
By the way, Susan, can you see Mr. Fix-It?
Yeah. Yes, he wants to be with you.
Well, whichever
Sometimes.
side. And then I'll just adjust.
Hello.
Hi.
Andrea. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Oh, yes, I see about our staircases.
The same. Yes.
Are
I'm
you
Susan.
both?
Hi.
Hi, Susan. I'm Andrea.
Hi, Andrea.
Are you both in and near Orange?
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm in Maplewood, which is really near
Okay.
Orange.
And I'm in West Orange.
Where?
West Orange.
All right.
I'm about 500 feet from Orange.
Oh, that's very close.
She is Orange. Are you guys going to talk simultaneously?
No, we'll be taking turns.
Okay.
He's coming back.
All
We will
right.
both be sitting here.
Okay, good.
Andrea, I think you've met Margot Simmons. So she's going to do the opening and closing readings from Thich Nhat Hanh,
Okay,
honor of his transition to the
wonderful.
other
And
space.
the opening and closing readings are Thich Nhat Hanh. Do
Okay.
you have do you want the James Baldwin also? Do
Yeah, I
you want
have
me
it.
to read
So,
it before yours?
sure, absolutely.
Great.
We thought we'd speak at the same time to save time.
That's what I was asking. Yes, yeah, you're going to speak at the same time. Where do you guys live? I didn't notice the.
In Tamworth, New Hampshire, in the southeast corner of the White Mountains.
Oh my God.
Speaking of the White
Okay.
Mountains, Carly Goss is from the White Mountains.
Oh, you brought her in? No.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Carly was the director of the Arts Council of Tamworth, and Andy was on Carly's board.
Hi, Carly.
Mm-hmm. Hi, I was figuring out my audio. Let's see. There we go.
Carly,
Is
where are
this the
you
house
living
that-
now?
What's that?
Do you live in north of North Conway now?
In Bartlett.
In Bartlett. All right.
Yeah.
People
Andrea,
who live in.
Is this
Oh,
your
sorry.
new house that you built? Or this is a
This
temporary?
is, we're in Andy's twin brother's house on our shared driveway, right across from our house, which has the frame up and part of the sheathing. It's it's metal roof. And there's a long extension cord, a bright pink extension cord that goes from this house all 200 feet over to our house.
That's exciting.
So once our equipment isn't set up just so for the talk, maybe we'll turn you around so you can see out the far window.
Oh, to see the house.
Very exciting.
Eileen Lerner is from World Fellowship.
Oh, you guys are bringing in a crowd. This is
Well,
lovely.
I think it got shared on the World Fellowship
Social media.
social
Okay,
media.
yes, it should share it on social media.
Great.
So how's the temperature there?
So right now it's in the 20s. It's
Yesterday morning, it was -24 when Andy got
Whoa.
it might even have been colder where Carly lives.
No, it was about the same, -24. Today it's not so bad. I think it's a whopping 3 degrees.
You know, it's the sort of weather that makes you happy that you have nostril hairs that slow down the super cooled air as it comes in your nostrils, so you don't
Yeah,
use your
for
brain.
sure. I lived in Minneapolis for a couple of years and it was 40 below for a couple of months in the winter. And you
Wow.
felt like, I thought my eyeballs would freeze, but they didn't. Hi, Molly, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling better today. Thanks, Susan.
Good.
Yeah, I'm okay. You know, I'm sure my mom told you, I just had like really bad fatigue for a while, I felt, you know? So it's not totally gone, but
Yeah,
not.
not fun.
It's not fun, Susan.
How's Doug? Is Doug appropriately distanced?
In time, yeah.
Molly's had 2 negative
It's 6 inches, right? that's
Margo. Mom, where's Toby?
right here.
Aww.
He'll pop up. There you go. He'll pop up.
Hi, Margot.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello,
Margot.
everyone. Good to see you
Hello,
all.
Molly. Oh, Toby.
Likewise.
Toby.
You say hi.
Toby.
Oh,
Hi,
there's
Toby.
Come here, Doug.
Hi, Toby. Oh my God, he's such a muppet right now.
Oh, cute.
Sorry to be using you.
Oh, okay.
Look, Toby, say hi to Darby.
Oh, look.
Toby's like,
Oh, Beagle. I love
Wanna meet
Beagle.
Darby.
Hi.
Darby doesn't really like to perform.
Oh,
Darby looked at the marquee for this event and didn't see her name, so she's in a bit of a snit.
okay. Charlie's here.
Darby.
So what does that make it? 11 o'clock in the morning in Paris? 11, 12.
goes the other way.
10 p.m.
Oh, it's later. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Holly, how are you feeling?
Pretty good.
Symptoms still?
Hmm?
Symptoms still?
No, I'm doing pretty well.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, just
Just cabin fever?
isolation stress, having 2 kids who are 6 and 3.
Yeah.
Can be working, do all that stuff. But all in all, pretty good. How's everyone?
Good. Charlie, did you get my email about putting a name to the friends and?
You know what? I definitely did. I
Okay.
just need
So
to
it's
find it.
sitting there waiting for you.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Just double checking.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I'm gonna find it.
Thanks, Charlie. That's great news.
Sure.
Indian Learner says Screen N has only a phone number.
Oh,
Eileen Lerner says Screen N has only a phone number.
I think she's wondering about the secretive person on the screen who is only a number.
Ah,
World Fellowship people worry about agents and things like that.
oh, you mean to get an acting job? Yes.
or Zoom bombers.
Oh no. Oh, well, but we don't know who this is.
I've never been in an event with a Zoom bomber.
It's pretty hostile.
Yeah.
So that person is muted though, so there won't be any bombing as far as I know.
Well, people can unmute themselves. But
Oh, Eileen sees us now.
Okay, good.
having said that, let me mute everybody. Oh,
they're
hi
about to tell us who
908.
they are.
The 908 is Martial.
Hey, Martial.
So good to hear your voice.
Hello.
Great to hear you, buddy.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Hello.
Eileen
Hi,
Lerner, Martial Bonhomme is our great buddy and leader of the Haitian community in Orange.
Yeah.
Martial, I'm going to mute, and everybody, I'm going to mute you all, and then I'm going to invite Margot to say some opening words. And I should say that I'm Mindy Fully Loved, and I'm the president of the congregation, and welcome to our Faith+Works, which is a lay-led service that we do once a month at 4 o'clock. And for these services, we like to invite people that we admire to talk about how they live their faith and their works. So with that said, I'm going to mute everybody and then invite Margot Margot to unmute and give us a reading. And Margot and I agreed that in honor of the transition of Thich Nhat Hanh, we should open and close with his reading.
Margot, you have to unmute yourself.
I muted myself because I heard a lot of static in the line. Did anyone else hear it or not? It was just me. Okay, it's gone now. Thanks. Well, thank you. I'm very happy to read this. Well, on this occasion of Thich Nhat Hanh's transition, I'm honored that Mindy asked me to read this. I just want to read this beautiful transcription of a prayer to relieve suffering that was on the website gratefulness.org. It was. Anyway, I'm gonna read this. May the sound of this bell penetrate deep into the cosmos. Even in the darkest spots, living beings are able to hear it clearly, so that all suffering in them cease. Understanding comes to their heart, and they transcend the path of sorrow and death. The universal Dharma door is already open. The sound of the rising tide is heard clearly. The miracle happens. A beautiful child appears in the heart of a lotus flower. One single drop of this compassionate water is enough to bring back the refreshing spring to our mountains and rivers. Listening to the bell, I feel the afflictions in me begin to dissolve. My mind calm, my body relaxed. A smile is born on my lips. Following the sound of the bell, my breath brings me back to the safe island of mindfulness in the garden of my heart. The flowers of peace bloom beautifully. Thank you. Thank you.
Molly, that's Toby, scaring cars away. Molly, would you like to say a few words in introduction of Andy and Andrea?
Yes, I would love to. It would be my honor to say a few words in introduction of Andy and Andrea. I and some of us here came to know Andy and Andrea as when they were the co-directors of the World Fellowship Center in New Hampshire, which is a place where many members of my family spent so much time, and then where I was fortunate enough to be able to go for many summers with a group of folks from Orange. And this is a really exciting time for Andy and Andrea, because after serving as co-directors of the World Fellowship Center for 21 years, their last day was at the end of December. And I, speaking for myself, have such a profound depth of gratitude to each of them for the way that they held this space for so many years, and the ways that they welcomed so many people through their doors and made space for families to be together in ways that are so meaningful, made space for people to express their art and be active and sit and read, and just in so many different ways. And I've learned so many lessons from each of them in witnessing the way that they always took the time to greet and know each person, and brought so much love to it. And I've heard Andy sort of say that there was a he always sort of treasured and valued the pastoral element of the work. And I think that you see that so much through all of the connections that they built. And I have so much gratitude for the way that they welcomed us into the community. And so as you all have heard, this series at our Unitarian Church, Faith+Works, is where we invite people to talk about the ways that their faith and work intersect. And we have had people from so many different faith traditions. So also it's always fun when we also have Unitarians at our Unitarian Church. So it's been super exciting. We've really been looking forward to having Andy and Andrea with us. So thank you so much for doing this. It's like, I'm so happy, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you. And now I will turn it over to you both.
Thank you. So in light of Thich Nhat Hanh's passing, Andy also selected this quote to start us off. It's from The Fire Next Time, James Baldwin. Perhaps the whole root of our trouble, the human trouble, is that we will sacrifice all the beauty of our lives. We'll imprison ourselves in totems, taboos, crosses, blood sacrifices, steeples, mosques, races, armies, flags, nations, in order to deny the fact of death, which is the only fact we have. It seems to me that we ought to rejoice in the fact of death, ought to decide, indeed, to earn one's death by confronting with passion the conundrum of life. One is responsible to life. It is the small beacon in that terrifying darkness from which we come and to which we shall return. One must negotiate this passage as nobly as possible for the sake of those who are coming after us.
Thanks, Andrea, and thanks, Margot. Can everyone hear me okay? So I just want to start out by saying also that we're delighted to be asked to do this, that we think it's so cool that you do this once a month. And we're humbled to be able to share in front of so many of you whom we so deeply respect. And so the thought is that we will each, that I'll say a few words, Andrea will say a few words. We're above all interested in talking with all of you. And Mindy said that the reason you do this is to hear from us. So we got that, so we'll say some stuff, but then we'll mix it up maybe a little bit. So I'm not off book yet, so I'll be shuffling some papers, but I decided not to do the clever thing where you either look at your screen with the document or you hang things on either side of your camera so it looks like you're not reading. But I'll try to peek at you every once in a while too, because I love all your faces. So with Baldwin, I believe that all that we can be sure of is a short span of time between darknesses, that we come out of an unfathomable oneness and return to it when we're done. So in the meantime, we have each other, and our challenge is to rediscover the oneness amidst all this earthly confusion and be true to the oneness and by fully accompanying one another. There's an image that's always stuck with me from War and Peace. Prince Andre has a dream, and he wakes up in the morning and remembers that he had a vision of a big golden ball. And as he got closer to it, he saw that it wasn't one thing, or it was one thing, but it was also all these individual droplets of gold that were blending in and out of one another. And intuitively, he knew that the drops of gold were us, and that somehow this was an expression of our being separate expressions of one fundamental unity. When I was in my 20s, before I went to Central America, more about that in a short time, I remember wanting to devote myself to artistic creation. The trouble was at that time, I didn't really know what it meant. I hadn't discovered my art form yet. I knew it had something to do with words, but I hadn't, storytelling as such hadn't discovered me yet. But I also felt the competing, pressing need to be engaged in social justice work. There was so much that needed to be done back then. My focus at the time was anti-imperialism, solidarity with Latin American movements, ecological organizing, and all of it from the fundamental wellspring idea that capitalism is a death culture, and trying to figure out how to address that. So, skipping ahead, for the past 22 years, Andrea and I have shared this job that Molly talked about, co-directing a peace and justice-oriented camp and retreat center in the White Mountains. And the really glorious opportunity about it is that there's all these humans involved. And you know about humans. They're so complicated, and they love us, and they hold us, and they support us, and they also teach us things. And sometimes they teach us things in challenging ways. And particularly if we're among a bunch of humans, and we have the sort of job where you have a certain amount of control and power, but you also are exposed to suggestions and gentle criticism and other kinds of criticism. It's an opportunity to grow in humility and patience. And humility and patience isn't just a useful thing for an ordinary civilian human being, but it's a really good thing for an artist. Humility and patience really helps us. So I feel really fortunate at this particular moment in my life, after having had my attention divided by the big day job and social justice work and a passionate avocation of storytelling, to begin to figure out how to be single-minded. Because as Andrea will tell you, I'm not that great a multitasker. And I really like that. I'm pretty good when I get on one thing, like a dog on a bone. But when I have to multitask, it kind of dilutes me. I remember Nathan Lizak, who used to work with us a long time ago, talking about how good I was with that one-on-one connection with people, but he was using it to tell me that sometimes when I got really focused on conversations with one person, that I forgot other things and other things might not get done. So my challenge now is to figure out, in this pursuit of single-mindedness, how to use my storytelling art to bring to life and amplify my core values and have my life become more integrated in my social change work. So one central musing that I've been having lately, no, just leave it, is that a necessary precondition for my continued growth as a human being and as a performer is to get myself out of the way. And that sounds a little paradoxical when we're talking about performers, but in order to create from the right motivation, especially as an old white guy, and old white guys have been occupying the stage, as we all know, for way too many hundreds of years. It's important that rather than telling people to look at me, I be pointing somewhere else. In a memoir that Andrea and I just finished reading, the poet Donald Hall calls this the third thing. He talks about this as an object that attracts the entwined gaze of two lovers, that provides a sight of joint rapture or contentment. In a successful relationship between an artist and an enjoyer of the artist is drawing attention to a third thing. This seems related to me to perhaps to what's the principal goal maybe of both religion and social change work: overcoming separateness, to recognize that we're all just drops of gold blending into one another. So I was recently listening to my friend Simon Brooks's podcast, Conversations with Storytellers, which you can get wherever you get your podcasts. And I particularly, I listened to the episode with a great storyteller named Megan Wells. And she said a thing that jumped out at me. She said, I have this sacred feeling, like a sacred duty to the story, to make it as truthful and alive as possible without a whole lot of Megan in it. I tried to get Megan out of the way, but Megan is my instrument. So the use of the word instrument in that context made me think of the prayer of St. Francis, make me an instrument of your peace. And this brought me back around to the lessons Andrea and I learned 30 years ago while working in Guatemala with an organization called Witness for Peace during the Civil War there. A big part of our work was accompaniment, living with communities that had suffered organized violence to make it less likely that death squads in the military would come at them again. So at times we offered to manage something concrete. We educated groups from the US, church groups, university groups, and others, and sent them home to tackle promoting a better US policy toward Latin America. We turned ordinary citizens into activists in the best of cases. We wrote reports and analysis. We built lasting relationships between communities. But living shoulder to shoulder with our US teammates and with our Guatemalan counterparts was the main thing. Some of my favorite memories of that time come from evenings sitting around a family stick shack in a refugee camp, crowded against the walls, everybody sitting on the plank beds in the evening, the faces of women, children, and men lit only with candlelight or cote, a resinous pine, telling tales of our lives, filling the night air with an occasional song, or rattling the walls with laughter after a joke. Looking at each other, but also looking at a third thing. Each of us drops of gold, blending in and out of one another in the light of a wood fire. So that's where we are right now. striking out in a new direction, but still accompanying one another between darknesses, confronting with passion the conundrum of life, letting Rocinante choose the road to be followed, and negotiating this passage as nobly as possible for the sake of those who are coming after us. And to put it in another way, in the words of the spiritual teacher Ram Dass, we're all just walking each other home. Sure.
Thank you, Andy. And what a thrill to be here with everyone. Thank you so much. So Andy types up his thoughts and prepares them well in advance. And Andrea trusts and has faith that things are just going to fall together. I have all these little scraps of pieces of paper from my journal and different places that I've sort of pinned together. So
Andy, where's the tape? Andy, where's the scissors? She's doing an old-fashioned paste up over here.
So I'm going to ask everyone to join me in taking one big, deep breath in to the count of 3 and hold it at the top for a couple of moments, and then exhale with a loud sound, if you care to, for the count of 4. So in, 2, 3, hold it. Let's do that 3 times. In, hold it. Exhale. So my faith and work is inspired by birth and by death. I've been working as a hospice volunteer coordinator after having been a hospice volunteer for a couple of years as my not paid work when I was with World Fellowship Center. And now for 8 to 10 hours a week, though I was going to have a gap year, I am working with the local visiting nurse program, coordinating hospice volunteers. And it's amazing. It's amazing to be part of a community and a community of people who want to facilitate allowing people to die in their home when that's what they want. And I could talk a lot about that, but more I want to talk about, I think from a young age, I knew that each of us, humans, trees, raccoons, dogs, is born, and we get to be from and through, in spite of, and with all of the life forces and love forces and puro casualidad, or pure chance or luck. We grow and dwell in community and in possibility with all of our planet mates, life mates, and love mates. I grew up in one town, a rural town outside of Lansing, Michigan, with a lot of time spent outdoors with my sisters, where I got a sense of being part of the community of people, the kids who rode my school bus, the school itself, being in a place where the state capitol was nearby that made things happen for everybody, or for not everybody, and in the church that where my family went through the 70s until not progressive pastors came and my parents' divorce came along. But so the people and the animals, from the chickens and goats and horses that we had at our place, to the deer and possum and raccoons that we got to see every so often in the fields. And the community of plants. Our house was surrounded by fields where there would be an annual rotation of soy or corn or wheat that was planted. And we had the childhood pleasures of running through the rows of corn where you can't see each other and you don't know where you're going to end up, and just running and through the length of the field, to building really big nests after the wheat is harvested, before the straw is baled into bales. All the straw is loose in the field and dry, and we would make nests as big as we were and play running from each other's nests and to and from, to our vegetable garden, and being able to harvest wild raspberries and blueberries to can for winter pleasure, and the bouncing branch. We had a large cedar tree next to the house where you could climb up. The branches were a ladder, and we would climb up to the bouncing branch where the three of us, we must have been really small or this branch was really big, but we would line up and hold on to the branch above and just gently bounce on this branch. We all remember it. We talked of it recently after my father died. And it was just incredible to feel like we knew that the branch we could trust, like we were all supporting each other, and nobody wanted the branch we were standing on to break. We would fall, it would hurt the tree. We knew the tree wanted us to be able to continue bouncing. And so it was like we distributed our weight to the branch above as well. And we just hung out there bouncing together. And it was an amazing and held feeling and sense. So Andy mentioned our having been in Guatemala, and that was an incredible time and sense and place to be able to be in our late 20s and early 30s. As we were seeking, I think each of us would say we were seeking spiritually then. We didn't have a faith that we called our own at that time. And it was incredible to be with a team of gringos, of people from the States who were of all different places in their radical Catholicism or Jewishness or humanism, atheism, agnosticism. It was all supported, and everyone was curious and engaged in trying to figure out how to be together, as we were with the Guatemalans, who are of many different faith traditions, from Mayan practitioners of Mayan traditions to radical Catholics, Jesus as a revolutionary, really supported by radical Catholic ministry. That was amazing to be alongside as Christian averse people at times. And to the evangelical fundamentalist voices that came on loudspeakers into the communities of refugee communities or returned refugee communities, blaring about how suffering in this life and suffering the poverty that we're in is part of the road to heaven. And we will enjoy the fruits of heaven once we get there, kind of exactly countering the Catholic message of Jesus as the revolutionary and let's take a hold and make change now. It was incredible, and it was an incredible time in our lives to be able to look at how our government uses faith in capitalism in a way, and uses this thing of just support the corporations and we will all benefit. We will all get our reward by supporting these policies. That while we were there, we learned more about the direct impact that the US government institutions that trained the Guatemalan military how to do a scorched earth policy in the 1980s that wiped out over 220 villages of elders and babies and families, communities that had organized to be able to share land and grow crops, to get themselves out from under the banana plantations and coffee plantations in places where Indigenous people would be rounded up to go do labor on the coastal plains where it had happened for generations, and they were breaking out of this through the 70s and 80s. And it was incredible for us just to know what they had organized and done, and then what they suffered for having become dangerous to the way life was. So as we returned to the United States, we knew we wanted an integrated life and work. And should a child become part of our family, we wanted to be able to raise that person in one place. And it was really an honor and a privilege to find World Fellowship Center and to be able to be part of that community that really facilitates having people learn about making connections with each other and with movements and with beauty and with community, and creating and celebrating the sense of kindness and sharing and love that is this life. So I think for each of us, as we imagine what comes next, it's really just amazing to be able to remember the experiences that we've had and to have met our more youthful cynicism and maybe lack of confidence or in the fact that the arc of the universe is bending toward justice, or to now have more confidence in that is a relief, I guess. And so having been inspired by so many, I found just this quote, as my habitual life or my work life is changing. I just want to share this recent find from Octavia Butler about inspiration and habit that I need. First, forget inspiration. Habit is more dependable. Habit is more dependable. Habit will sustain you whether you're inspired or not. Habit will help you finish and polish your stories. Inspiration won't. Habit is persistence in practice. So I guess as I go forward in looking toward in a pandemic, facilitating volunteers going into people's homes to be a presence in a home for an hour or two so that a caregiver can get out to go do some shopping or have a walk outside and leave their loved one in the presence of a volunteer. There's just a certain trusting that happens that I think as communities of people who care and who are engaging in the world as much as we can in whatever ways we can, that this trusting that we'll figure out what comes next and that we get to be part of what the world, figuring out what the world wants from us and what we can offer as we venture forward. For me, it's that bouncing gently. How do we hang on together and just keep hanging on as we figure out what habits it is that we want to practice? What are the habits I want to build as we continue walking each other home? So I just want to see if people have comments or thoughts. If we could unmute people.
Everybody can unmute themselves, but it's better not to unmute everybody. I mean,
Okay.
Just unmute when you want to speak and then mute yourself again.
Thanks, Andy and Andrea, so much. I can relate to a lot of what, well, maybe not in scale, but changing, changing sort of life moments. Feel like the time we've met was when you guys came down to Hub, to the Unitarian Church, and did a talent show. I believe was one of the first events that we held at the Hub after it had sort of, after it had kicked off, and it was one of the first events we had there, 5 or 6 years ago, I guess now. But I think I just want to say that I relate to a lot of how you're talking about kind of trying to find habits, Andrea. We moved to France like 5 or 6 months ago, and my kids are in school. I'm still working at Hub a bit. Camille's working, but we're really trying to kind of settle into find new habits or find new sort of structures and ways that aren't just inspirations, I think, which you kind of forget. Yeah, you forget that you really rely on when you're just so used to what you're doing. And yeah, I think I just appreciate the way you guys kind of talk about it, and that just want to tell you I'm relating to you and feeling similarly, and appreciate the words in the same moment that I'm kind of going through. So just want to say thank you, and it's great to see you both, and wishing you the best in this bit of a transition, massive transition.
Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah.
So if people would, is there something that inspires you or a habit that you have that you find helpful during a pandemic?
I just want to say, I just got a dog who's sitting next to me. And he requires walking at 7 a.m. and at 10 o'clock at night. And it's very cold. And I do not have this habit. I don't want this habit. So I think having to have new habits, I mean, sometimes we want to have a new habit, but then sometimes we don't. So I think life brings us both of those. This friend of mine always says, there's no pleasure without pain. So anyway, that's my experience of new habits. I don't want to get out of bed at 7 in the morning when it's 7 degrees outside.
I wanted to say thank you to Andy and Andrea. It's so beautiful to see you all here. We've missed you. I don't know. I don't have anything to say about habits. I'm just thinking a lot with what y'all said about trust. Andrea, when you talked about the bouncing branch and working in unison with the tree, right? And your siblings. And when Andy talks about the droplets, it just, both of these went together so beautifully. Of course they did. But just that, right? Like trusting and working together to do something more sustainable is one of the things I'm left with. And I feel like the habit versus inspiration is like, I feel very called out right now. So thank you, Andrea and Octavia Butler, for that one. And then I'm really struck though, of course, Andy, by the James Baldwin quote, but about the idea that we are between darknesses, right? Like in the pandemic, that just seems so real. And I think you all know with like, as we get older, so many things happen, so many things unfold unexpectedly that don't feel good. And so it's like, y'all are reminding us to trust and to embrace the light between those moments. So I thank you so much for that.
Hey, I feel like I should introduce myself because I feel like a fly on the wall. And I apologize. Andrea, do you remember me?
Yes.
I knew Andrea, for a short time in Ann Arbor, Michigan, when I was in my early 20s. So I'm Kim, and I happened to be on Facebook, and friends of friends. Facebook shows you somebody, and I saw on Andy's feed that this talk was coming up. And this is a habit I have during the pandemic, is enjoying the benefits of Zoom, being able to Zoom. It almost feels like back in time, or to travel to other places, and also consider new possibilities for the future and for creating, a new reality. But I need the new habit of being arriving places early, because I could have, been able to introduce myself before your event started here. So I have been zooming in some to Unitarian Universalist here in Pompano Beach, Florida. I live in Florida. Sorry, don't hate on me. It's so cold. I had to put like a sweatshirt on today over my tank top. Anyway,
thank you for coming.
Thanks. It was so, I thought, and it's so exciting. I mean, I knew Andrea when I think of you every time I kill a mosquito. Can I tell this story? Yes, I admit to killing mosquitoes. But every time I think when we were on a bike trip and I killed one on you, and you're like, don't do that. She's just a mother trying to feed her children. And now I'm like, you're so right. I think so. I became aware of my violence against women, right? Internalized depression. But anyway, good old times. I knew you when you were in Haywa House, right? And there were people going to Central America, and those are some of the best memories of my life. So, I feel privileged to be able to zoom in and think about possibilities for connecting with other people. This is a huge emphasis in my life. I have multiple debilitating chronic illnesses. And so it's been very isolating over the years. And now I have I'm on this new mission to investigate co-housing possibilities, or just somehow, like, I'm determined to live in community. Ever since back those days, I thought someday I'm going to live communally with people one way or another. And it hasn't worked out that way so far, but that doesn't mean it can't. And thanks for letting me sit in, you all.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Wow, Kim. Andrea Walsh, this is your life. Now we have coming on your first grade teacher, and after that, your first crush.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, this is Marcial. Can you? Yes. How I believe it's Andy who mentioned, I think, capitalism as a culture of death. Now, how do someone who's persisting in saying capitalism as a cure to the system that we are living today, especially in this vast gap, this vast inequality of wealth during this pandemic that we are seeing. And they are persisting in it, even though someone's mentioned habit is persistent in practice, but habit in something that really is detrimental to the well-being of the community in which we are speaking about.
Go ahead. I'm
great. Was your question about how do we respond to that when people say?
How do we respond to that? To someone, yes.
To someone saying capitalism is what could fix the pandemic, or capitalism is our only hope for.
Correct. Or is the cure to ill, to save the world, or even though we are seeing this vast gap during this pandemic, we are seeing how people, those who have the most are getting richer. People are getting richer, while the bottom of the population worldwide mostly is getting poor. So how do we try to have friends who are espousing capitalism change their habit in seeing capitalism in a different eye, in a different way?
Well, so my first thought is I've always thought it was important to call things by their true names. And, you know, sometimes there are people who, like, I've been, ever since I was in my 20s, I've spoken really clearly about how destructive capitalism was. And with people in my own family and my brother's extended family and so forth, there are people who used to go totally blank when I would say something like that statement. And now they're receptive to it. And so now there are people who will say, oh, you're being divisive. Oh, if you say something like that, people will shut down. They won't be able to hear you. But on the other hand, I do feel like it's important to be tactical. In some situations, it's not appropriate, possibly. But by saying what we truly believe, especially if we say it in a way that invites discussion, we're planting seeds and we're giving people the possibility of branching out and thinking in new ways themselves.
I think for me, that democratic socialism is something that's being talked about, from Bernie Sanders to AOC, to just as we can look at Europe more, and where even capitalism has a tax involved, that humans are humans, and that in Europe, we had a friend, Dugald, who some of you may have met at World Fellowship Center, who's from Northern Ireland, who came, and he mentioned he feels like when he comes from Europe, where he's a human being, he gets to the airport in the United States and he has transformed into a human buying. And that we in this country and our economic system doesn't allow humans to be, that we are expected to do. I mean, between all of the stuff of work and productivity and whiteness imposing all of the do, but also it's with buying, and that we're all expected to buy and buy in. We're to have a habit, right? 9/11 happens, let's go shopping, was what Bush said. I mean, that is the cure, is just, it's not the truth. That we can't buy our way out of anything or into anything. So that we got to be talking about how, if not transforming capitalism, you know, it's not going to be one swell foop that will switch it up, but let's get some taxation going at least, or how to support us a transformation of our system. And I think as much as we block news from the way Europe has done things, we don't serve ourselves.
Thanks for raising that, Marcia.
Thank you.
I have like a question, comment, hybrid. I think that there's a question here though. But which is, so for those of you who haven't been to World Fellowship Center, as Andy and Andrea described, it's like a peace and justice kind of summer camp place, like people of all ages go. And in the morning, out during breakfast, somebody rings a bell, and then Andy or Andrea makes a morning announcement. And as part of the morning announcement, Andy and Andrea established a tradition of, I'm not actually sure what happened at morning announcements before this, kind of like going over that day's activities and sharing the weather, but also every single day, which is what made me think of this, it's a habit of World Fellowship, every single day, finding sort of something that happened historically on that day, like a poet who was born, or a freedom fighter, or a Union victory won, from really stories all over the globe, and then connecting that to a quote of like from a piece of poetry or a novel or someone's memoir or something in the newspaper that day. And it was sort of like a habit that was very grounding for the community of World Fellowship, and also helped create a sense of connection to kind of this larger story of struggles for freedom globally. And I guess my question around that is that sort of like creating a community habit, but also maybe if you either of you have any thoughts about what that was like as a daily practice for you, really from like June through September for years, to be thinking about what it's again kind of engaging with this like kind of beauty and the amount that you can say in a few, like 3 sentences just as a daily thing to do. Seems like, I'm curious if you have thoughts about that.
Thanks.
Can I also say something really quick about that? Because I was going to say my habit gratitude to you, Andy, was that from the very first time I came to World Fellowship, you always threw a Wyoming-based announcement in when I was there. That I felt very seen by that. So I wanted to say, like, not only does it connect us to movements, but you also really like are thoughtfully personal about that. So I wanted to add that bit as well.
Thanks. To start with what Aubrey said, I just really did love the creative aspect of it, and I miss it, and I'm trying to get myself back into making a point of kind of doing that sort of reflection every day, because I would go into the office at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then the first thing I would do is work up my morning announcements. And so it was an opportunity to reflect on what was significant that had happened that day, or who was an important person to highlight, that I felt would lift people up, because I do feel like life is difficult, and it is really easy to get focused on how hard things are and how hard change is. But to lift up those examples of, as Howard Zinn says in one of my favorite quotes, human beings who have behaved magnificently, I think it's a really good sort of secular religious practice.
I want to put in a plug for Jacobin Magazine. Jacobin Magazine has a daily, they usually have a daily post about someone in history that has made a significant socialist advancement of some kind. That can be wonderful. Nothing like the daily announcements, morning announcements that Andy did, but a piece of what could be included in something like that.
I too want to jump on this question and say I always thought it would be great if you would continue it, Andy, probably as you're promoting yourself as a storyteller, just on your website, let people sign up for Andy's daily message. That would be great.
I love that. Thank you, everyone.
I was just thinking, this is sort of in terms of habits, I guess, but Andy, you've sort of reminded me in the past that it's okay to live in a more seasonal way. So for those of you who don't know me, which is everyone, I was the director of the Arts Council of Tamworth, and Andy served on my board. And whenever we were approaching summer, Andy would basically say, "Peace out, y'all. If you need me, I'll be at World Fellowship." It was always just very clear that this is a period during this year that I want to be available to you, but I know that I cannot. So if you need me, come to me. And you would always invite us too, which was wonderful. But that's something I've been trying to kind of incorporate into my life a little bit more. There are certain periods of the year that I need to focus on one thing and one thing only, and just be okay with that. And so I've been having these sort of like micro habits daily. Like I have a meditation practice, I have a lemon water practice, I have a practicing my Duolingo on my app, on the app, practice every day. But I'm trying to remember to have like seasonal habits too, like that. And it's a good reminder just seeing your face to do that. Yeah, so thank you.
I want to add to that, what a relief it was to me when I was reminded about, or brought to mind about, the fact that there can be years of change, and like 7-year periods or 9. I'm not going to be the kind of activist I was for the 18 years that I'm raising my child, or for, it might be 20 years of something, but things change, and that I can allow myself to be different people during different decades or different times, and that we have to allow ourselves to, and we can't assume anything or expect anything in a certain way. And I want to thank Kim just for your commitment to doing what you need to do with a chronic illness, that we all have all of our things, just that things change and shift, and aren't we lucky? I feel so lucky to have been able to be here with all of you today.
And I think we feel so lucky to have been able to be here with you. Thank you so much, Andy and Andrea. Anybody have last thoughts they want to share before we ask Margot to read some more Thich Nhat Hanh? Hearing none, over to you, Margot. Take us out.
Thank you so much, Andy and Andrea. Thank you for being here and for sharing your life, parts of your life with us. It's really inspiring. I want to offer another short writing by Thich Nhat Hanh that was shared by a friend on Facebook. And it talks about life and death in maybe a different way, a way that I see it as transformation. We're transformed. Death and birth and death are, I don't see them as periods of darkness, but they're periods of transformation. As you just said, Andrea, we're in a kind of continuous transformation, and I think this sort of touches on that. He says, "This body is not me. I am not caught in this body. I am life without boundaries. I have never been born, and I have never died. Over there, the wide ocean and the sky with many galaxies all manifest from the basis of consciousness. Since beginningless time, I have always been free. Birth and death are only a door through which we go in and out. Birth and death are only a game of hide and seek. So smile to me and take my hand and wave goodbye. Tomorrow we shall meet again, or even before. We shall always be meeting again at the truth source, always meeting again on the myriad paths of life." Thich Nhat Hanh. Thank you very much.
Gorgeous. And in such a time when we're all struggling with grief and loss and transition, what a beautiful thought that we'll all be meeting again at the true source of life.
At the true
Thank
source.
you all so much for coming. It's been really great. Everybody can unmute, say goodbye, whatever.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Such a
Thank you,
pleasure.
everyone. I'm so glad
Thank
you
you
all
all.
came.
Thank you.
Fiona said to say hi.
Yeah, Fiona was sorry that she was going to be on the way back to Boston this afternoon, but she says hello to all of you who she knows, and even those she doesn't know.
That's my daughter.
Love to Fiona. Tell her we all wish her happy birthday.
And to you too.
Andrea, I also remember going out one day to the community garden out near Dexter. I remember
Yep.
you working so hard. I'm doing permaculture now. I took a
Oh, great.
permaculture all these years later, and I'm like, oh, I was supposed to be doing that all that time. I was just doing my own compost and my own microgreens and my own, kefir. And now I'm like trying to connect. And I think of you all the time because I think of that day. And I just wish I had been community gardening every day since then. But
that's great.
Start now. So yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah. Thanks.
And all best wishes in France, Charlie.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you again.
Thank you, guys.
Nice to see you, Judy.
Thanks so much for joining us. That was lovely.
What a pleasure.
Yeah, it was really nice.
I hope we got close to what you were looking for.
You know, you never know what you're looking
for.
Just sort of say, okay, talk. So
So Fiona wondered if there is a recording. She said she might like to watch it.
Yeah, there is.
We'll tell her. Okay.
We'll send it to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It's great to see you, Mindy.
Great to see you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Mindy.